Good evening, a warm welcome to State of Business RTV's Prime Time News Bulletin with me, Rukshi Panditaratna. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Budget Implementation Unit to be set up in January. And 2018, another challenging year, says Sri Lanka Airlines CEO. And today on Top Stories, a post-budget press conference by Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira was held this afternoon at the Parliament complex.
දිරිගැන්වීමකුත් ඕනේ. ඒ නිසා අපි හිතුවා බැංකුව වලින් සෑම රුපියල් 1000කටම 720ක්. ඒ කියන්නේ රුපියල් 10000කට රුපියල් 2ක්. අය කරන්නේ මේක අපි පැහැදිලිවම කියලා තියෙනවා. නේ අවුරුදු 3කට සීමා කරනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ ගිණුම් කරුවන්ට පාරිභෝගිකයාට පාස් කරන්න බෑ. ඒ වගේම එයාට ටැක්ස් මේව හම්බ වෙනවා මේ බදු සහන හම්බ වෙනවා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්. අපි මේ අයවැය යෝජනා ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමේ වෙනම ඒකකයක් දැන් අපි පිහිටවනවා මේ අවුරුද්දේ ඉඳන් ඒක හැම මාසෙම අත් වශයෙන්ම ජනවාරි මාසෙ ඉඳලා අපි ඒ ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමේ ප්‍රගතිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් තමුන්නාස්ලාවත් මං කියලා තියෙන්නේ දැනුවත් කරන්න ඕනේ. As a first step, we have allocated 500 million to try out some electric buses. But as I mentioned, our target is to be totally green as far as fossil fuel is concerned by 2040. We are also bringing in a regulatory authority. I think the work is nearly complete. And they will also impose certain minimum requirements for three-wheeler drivers to adhere to. So we have to formalize this industry. I see three-wheelers as an industry. The most of our policies which have been designed is to ensure that there is no undue advantage given to anyone. In fact, starting from the Inland Revenue Act, we are trying to simplify everything into a formula. And even for the vehicles, that's why we have introduced a new formula. I'm not only talking about the electric vehicles, but for all vehicles. The whole theme of this budget, I would say, is free enterprise. Liberalization and globalization is what we are talking about. And in order to do so, we have to liberalize this economy further, and to do so radically if we are to move ahead and compete with the rest of the world. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, Sri Lanka always excelled when it dealt with the outside world, and therefore we have to somehow reawaken the dormant spirit of enterprise in our people. And in order to do so, we have to change certain laws. We have to liberalize certain laws and allow foreign investment to flow in, as well as our entrepreneur exporters to get their exports out. Private sector also must learn to compete, because finally I believe competition breeds excellence, and that is what we want to do. And I think we have to stop being a nanny state for different sectors.
A budget seminar organized by KPMG Sri Lanka was held in Colombo this morning. State Minister of Finance Eran Wickramaratne was the chief guest at the event. Addressing the media, State Minister Wickramaratne elaborated regarding the 2018 budget, which was presented in Parliament last evening.
We also want to repeal the Revival of Underperforming Enterprises Act, which was brought in during the last Parliament, and particularly as it was a negative signal in terms of investment and capital coming in. We are hoping in the first half of next year to look at the other major institutions that come under the Finance Ministry, and customs is one of those. Much needs to be done, but first of all we want to look at really replacing the customs ordinance, which is 150 years old, right, with actually a new act in Parliament. Then one of the other themes that came was that we want to build an economy which is environmentally friendly. Working out the taxation on vehicles, we based it on engine capacity, and the reason we did that was the leakage in the present system is unbelievably high. and therefore that leakage means that the public is really being penalized, and therefore we need to reduce that leakage. For new entrepreneurs, the cost of failure is very high, and part of it comes because of our labor laws. If you hire people, you fail, then the cost of laying them off is enormous, and therefore the entrepreneurship spirit is being killed. And we need to look at reforms in that area. To encourage entrepreneurship, several loans.
Addressing the 2018 budget seminar, Chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Rajendra Tyagaraja, analysed the macroeconomic fundamentals in the new budget. Tyagaraja also welcomed the new trade adjustment packages in the budget, while appreciating the increased focus in the education sector.
The country is driven by SME in reality to include SMEs, so it's to fuel inclusive growth as opposed to excluding. And I guess in all these four aspects, there has been consistency. I think in terms of policy consistency, there is more correlation than regression of this speech against the PM's 2017 statement and the Vision 25. In terms of export orientation, yes, that it's not just focusing on the big companies, but there is a encouragement for whole of Sri Lanka using the value chain to engage into exports. That's certainly an encouragement. Totally welcoming the increased focus on education. I think it was some 300 billion. The only urge for the policymakers is it's time not just to push input-focused education, but to use this money wisely on focusing the curriculum on an outcomes-based focus, so that the type of graduates or the school leavers we churn out maps the needs of the country in terms of employability, as well as employment creation.
2018 will be another challenging year for the Sri Lankan Airlines, says Captain Suren Ratwatta. The CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines made this remark during an exclusive interview with our television. Speaking further, Captain Ratwatta elaborated upon the challenges that the airline needs to overcome in order to keep further strengthening its place as the national carrier. Sri Lankan Airlines is currently the largest airline in Sri Lanka by number of aircraft and destinations, and was launched in 1979 as Air Lanka following the termination of operations of the original Sri Lankan flag carrier Air Ceylon. The airline flies to 43 destinations from its main hub located at the Bandaranayake International Airport in Colombo. This year, Sri Lankan Airlines will be celebrating its 70th anniversary in December.
The aviation industry changes so often that it's actually quite amazing. The recent challenges we have faced are twofold. One is the rise of the Gulf Airlines, which are funded by their governments and are able to provide an excellent service at a price that we find very hard to match. And because of that, we have had to pull out of our traditional European markets. At one time, Sri Lankan had 8 or 10 destinations in Europe. Unfortunately, they're down to only one, because we found that the price competition with the Gulf carriers was just not possible, and we were consistently losing money on those routes. The second threat we face are what we call low-cost carriers, or LCCs, the likes of Indigo, AirAsia, and Fly Dubai, who operate on a completely different business plan. It's focused on just providing a seat. Everything else is extra, but very low fares and a very efficient operation. So these twofold threats mean that the airline has to essentially reinvent itself over the next couple of years if we are to survive. 2018 is going to be, unfortunately, a very challenging year. 2017 was tough because the first 3 months we had the closure of the runway in Katunayake, which we carried off very well, but in that period we cancelled over 600 flights. And we weren't able to reduce our costs at all. The last 6 months of 2016 were very good. We were profitable, but we lost all that money in the 3 months of 2017. So 2017 has been a tough year for us. 2018 promises to be even tougher because the fuel price is creeping up. Fuel is our single biggest cost, and if you checked it today, it's at about $65 a barrel, which translates to almost $2 a gallon in aviation fuel, and that is very, very hard to recover from ticket prices.
Speaking further, the CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, Captain Suren Ratwata, stated that controlling costs is one of the major challenges that the airline is facing at present. Captain Ratwata also highlighted the important parts that relevant authorities should focus on in order to reduce costs.
We have 4 major areas of cost. The biggest is fuel. We also have a lot of interest costs because the airline is undercapitalized, and the government, who is a majority shareholder, provides us with loans and not with equity, and paying the interest on those loans is crippling. Our next biggest cost is the aircraft leases. These are very expensive due to decisions made prior to this management. We're just trying to cope with them. And then we have very high engineering costs as well. We have to address all of those if we are to come out and return to profitability. The government is well aware of this. There is a task force appointed by the Prime Minister who's working on the restructuring efforts, and we are going to bring in a consultant, dedicated aviation consultant, to help us with this early in the new year. We need the Sri Lankan people to support us. We are the national carrier of Sri Lanka, and we want you to support us both morally and also by actually buying tickets and flying with us to all the places we go to.
See you after this break. Welcome back. Huawei, the fastest growing smartphone brand in Sri Lanka, together with Singer Sri Lanka, launched the Huawei Nova 2i smartphone in Colombo recently.
The new smartphone, Huawei Nova 2i, showcases a stylish and value-packed exterior along with the technologically advanced features and functionality. The product will be available through the Huawei Experience Center and selected Dialog customer care centers and other key dealers island-wide. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's leading smartphone marketer, Singer Sri Lanka, will ensure the availability of these products through the country's largest retail network, Singer, comprising of over 420 retail outlets.
In Q1 2017, Huawei's market share rose to 9.8% of the global smartphone market, according to industry analysis IDC. This growth was driven by a significant increase in sales of mid-range and high-end smartphone in key geographies. Sales revenue for the first 6 months of 2017 increased by 36.2% year-on-year to US $15.8 billion. This is my favorite, and I'm thrilled to inform you that Huawei surpassed Apple to become the #2 smartphone brand in the world. This is a phenomenal achievement for the brand. Within the short span of 5 years, Huawei is now the #1 fastest growing smartphone in Sri Lanka. Our dynamic partnership with Singer Sri Lanka has positioned us as the #1 quality smartphone in Sri Lanka. I'm very proud to say that according to GfK reports, in Sri Lanka, Huawei is edging closer to become the #1 smartphone brand with a strong market share of over 30%. This achievement is a feat as a result of hard work and commitment driving the business growth together with an exceptional team at Huawei.
Now we have few more stories in brief. The global hackathon event EpiHack, which tackles the menace of dengue through the effective use of technology, concluded in Colombo today. The event was organized by the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore in collaboration with the Colombo Municipal Council, University of Colombo School of Computing and the Computer Society of Sri Lanka. Titled EpiHack Sri Lanka, the 5-day hackathon brought together 55 experts from 11 countries. The main aim of this event was to create an open-source digital solution to health communication and surveillance of dengue fever with the hope of reducing the disease. IFS Sri Lanka today celebrated its 20th anniversary since starting operations in Sri Lanka. The global company IFS shows year-to-date license growth at 18% in the third quarter of 2017. IFS counts over 120 of Sri Lanka's top companies as customers of its enterprise software. IFS has been a key player in driving information technology and business process outsourcing industries in the country towards building capacity. Let's take a look at stocks after this break. Welcome back. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all share price index dropped 14.48 points to close at 6,552.59 and the S&P SL20 index dropped by 7.13 points to close the session at 3,841.97. The turnover was 1.3 billion rupees and 48.3 million shares were traded. Let's take a look at today's forex rates. Thank you for watching State of Business. See you tomorrow at 7 p.m. with Biz Roundup. Have a fantastic weekend. Take care. Good night.